We have to remember October 7th, one of the worst, most violent days in the history of the world, not just there, in the history of the world. And I got to see.
All right, peace, family. I just wanted to draw a conclusion to show you how the world looks at our history compared to everybody else's history. So let's start on the Israel side and go to October 7th. So an estimate of 4,000 people were in attendance at the festival. 364 attendants were killed and 44 were taken hostage. This indicates that approximately 3,600 people survived the assault on the festival. So 3,600 people survived, and Trump said that it was the most deadliest event in human history, and that is 0.012% of Israel's total population. So let's go into Fort Negro. It is not to be expected that an establishment so pernicious to the southern states, holding out to a part of their population's temptation to insubordination, would have been suffered to exist after the close of the war. In the course of last winter, several slaves from the neighborhood fled to this fort. Others have largely gone from Tennessee and Mississippi territory. How long shall this evil, requiring immediate remedy, be permitted to exist? The evil that they're talking about is a safe haven for black people. Gaines himself believed that the fort would produce much evil amongst the blacks in Georgia and the eastern part of the Mississippi territory. He ordered Colonel Duncan Clinch to speedily establish a fort near the junction of the Flint and the Chattahoochee River, where they joined to form the Apalachicola. To intimidate the Negro fort, Clinch was to meet the convoy of supplies from New Orleans with 50 soldiers, and he was informed that he had arrived at the river. The convoy was detached with 2 gunboats. From this point, Gaines ordered him to proceed to the fort, where if it was to meet with opposition, then arrangements would immediately be made for its destruction. See, they had a pretext for this. It's called a casus belli. It's the event or action that justifies or allegedly justifies a war or conflict. So they was trying to tempt these people to blow up that fort. And once it happened, out of the 330 men, women, and children inside, 270 were killed instantly, and half of the remaining 60 were mortally wounded. Only 30 survived, included Garcon and the Choctaw chief. From one captive, they had learned that the blacks had tarred and feathered American soldier. So it was 210 women and children there, non-combatant. That's 65% of Fort Negro population was non-combatant. 35% was men. They say it's 110. And 270 people were killed in the explosion. That's 84% of the population were killed instantly. And 16% of the survivors, 60, with half of them people being mortally wounded. So amongst the people killed, the men and children, the most were women and children, so my bad. Amongst those killed, most were women and children, meaning 70 to 75% of all deaths were non-combatant. So while the population was under 400, the percentage of total deaths, 84%, is extraordinarily high, especially given that majority was civilian. This makes Fort Negro one of the deadliest single incidents against black, and it says natives, in U.S. history, comparable and proportional loss to the massacres like Sand Creek or Wounded Knee, but you never hear about it. The explosion was awful, the scene horrible beyond description. You cannot conceive nor describe the horrors of the scene. In an instant, lifeless bodies were stretched upon the plains, buried in sand and rubbish, or suspended from tops of surrounding pines. Here lies an innocent babe, there lies a helpless mother. On the side of the sturdy warrior, on one side a sturdy warrior, on the other a bleeding squaw. Piles of body, large heaps of sand, broken guns, accoutrements, etc., covered the site of the fort. The brave soldiers were disarmed of his resentment and checked for a victorious career to drop a tear. Another one. The explosion was so awful and the scene horrible beyond description. Our first care on arriving at the scene of destruction was to relieve the unfortunate beings who survived the explosion. The war yells of the Indians and the cries of lamentation of the wounded compelled the soldiers to pause in the midst of victory, to drop a tear for the suffering of their fellow beings, and to acknowledge the great ruler of the universe must have used his instruments in chastising the bloodthirsty and murderous wretches. that defended the fort. And see, it didn't even stop there. As soon as they blew up this fort, they immediately went to Sewanee to try to rinse and repeat what they did there. So no, October 7th per capita was not the most deadliest event in human history. Black people had numerous of events right here in the United States that would fit that mold. So I wanted to show you, these people set out to destroy a fort that was a safe haven for black people, that was a launch pad to attack slavery, not white people, but to attack the plantation culture that white people established to free black people, because we waged a war on slavery before Lincoln, the Civil War, or anybody decided to step up. These people sought that refuge center and destroyed it, killing men, women, and children, mostly women and children, because that's how they operate. And when they went to the Sewanee, they attacked women and children as well, because this is the modus operandi. So I wanted to show you the Black October the 7th took place at Fort Negro in July 27, 1816. This is a Free Black Society presentation. Know your history, teach it, because your history and your struggle is more important to your people and your future than the propaganda that they're trying to put us through. Peace.